Okay, welcome back everybody to another stream of playing Minecraft while learning about life and growing basically. So in this episode, what we have planned is we're going to start a farm and do a little bit of fishing. I'm thinking about creating a fishing dock. But yeah, looking forward to that. But yeah, let me just get started. And yeah, let's talk about life and stuff. We got stuff cooking over here. We got iron. Damn, we got a lot of iron. And copper. And this guy. Yeah, the plans we got for this place is... This is easy because we got coal now. Coal trays. We can just quickly farm that up. And get up there, you know? And it looks like that's done. So what I'm thinking about doing is creating a fishing dock out of copper. I got some plans in mind, but I'll wait for you guys to see it. Don't want to spoil the fun. But yeah, let's go. This stuff. We're gonna let that cook for now. So yeah, I just wanted to come on here and share about life. So I'm just a college student trying to make it. This is my first year in college and it's been pretty good so far. Gotten started with making money and stuff. But yeah, I got very high dreams and stuff. But I just do this on the side. This is my side kind of stuff. I just do it like at the end of the day. And I hope you guys enjoy it. So yeah, what about life? What could I say? You know, life is life. There's not much to it. You just gotta act and go for it. That would be a nice area for fishing dock. Yeah, and I've been trying to grow this channel for a bit. And yeah, I hope it goes forward. This is more of a entertaining thing. 45 minutes a day max. You know? Yeah. Life update. I could give you guys a life update. School's going good. We got exams coming up. I don't know why I'm playing this game. Got a lot of stuff to do. This game should be the last thing on my mind, but you know, can't skip having fun. Well, you can, but let's try not to do that. Okay, so let me see here. I could create the wheat farm right over here, and maybe put animals over there. And then I could do a dock, a fishing dock, like right over. I want to make it like near the ocean, probably. That would be better. Should I do near the ocean? I think like over there would be perfect. Yeah, like right about there. Okay, so let's get started on that. Without any further ado. If you guys are new to the channel, this is a channel where I basically play Minecraft and at the same time I also share a few lessons. It's usually, I usually play clips of other motivational speakers. We got Andrew Tate, we got Tristan Tate, we got David Goggins, all of those motivational speakers. But I don't really like motivation. This channel is not for motivation. This is just for when you're feeling, cause like I have it as well. Sometimes I like feel sorry for myself. I'm not doing the best in life, you know. So this is just for if you're just going through a rough time, just kick back, relax, watch the stream, and yeah, take a few lessons out of it, and I hope your life gets better. So, let's get started on this farm. I'm gonna probably play a few words of inspiration by today we're gonna play it by Andrew Tate, and it's gonna be with a therapist, him conversating with a therapist to see where that goes, because he has strong thoughts on therapy, and yeah, it could be useful for all you men watching, going through feelings or something. You know, it's good, but you need to control it. And the best way to do that by being stoic. So you got to be stoic in life. That's a very important part of life. You can be stoic. You can do everyday things without really negatively impacting yourself, because you know, feelings do get in the way sometimes. You just gotta learn to control them. So yeah, let's not waste any more time. Kick back, watch the stream. I'm gonna get on with fishing docks and stuff. This is just a little fun I'm having. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. See you guys at the end. Like and subscribe if you like the content though.
Ready to break the internet, friend? How are we going to break the internet? You said you wanted this to be impactful. What would that look like to you?
That's a really good question. I think a lot of people are interested in my journey. I think a lot of people are interested in how it feels to go through what I'm going through.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who want me to martyr myself. A lot of people are living vicariously through me.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who say, yeah, Andrew, keep going. But they don't really care. They just enjoy the drama of it all. And I think I've already broken the internet, but you're a very interesting man to talk to. And with your insights, I think together, we're going to have quite a large audience.
Yeah, I mean, that's a question that I have for you. Why did you want to talk to me? Because I'm a psychotherapist. You have your skepticism about psychotherapy, and yet here I am.
That's true. We had a conversation before, and I've been told by many people it was my most interesting podcast ever. So I think it obviously varies from the norm in terms of the normal things I'm asked about. You have some unique insights. And I thought it'd be an interesting conversation. A lot of people are asking me especially about my mental state and those kind of things post-jail. So I thought, well, my most interesting podcast ever. People seem to be very interested in that side of me. So perhaps it can be a good conversation.
Does it make you nervous that there may be things that you don't know about yourself that I'm going to try to reveal to you?
I know everything about myself, my friend.
You know everything about yourself.
I believe that I have an intimate grasp of all the things about myself which matter, which allow me to compete.
Right.
So there may be things I don't know, but I'm not sure if I particularly need them. So I'm not that interested.
Right. What's useful is more important than what's true.
Absolutely.
Right, and you've developed a framework of thinking about yourself and thinking about reality that's been incredibly effective for you.
Completely. Right. What's useful is more, you nailed it, what's useful is more important than what's true. This is an old argument of mine, but I think we discussed it in the last podcast, and I'll say it again. When I say I don't believe in depression, nobody can convince me to believe in depression. That's not a matter of discussing whether depression's real or not. That's a matter of me accepting that my mental model for going through life is more effective if I don't believe I can become a depressed person. Yeah. I don't believe in depression, so I can't be depressed, so that allows me to be more effective. It's not a matter of sitting there going, well, maybe it's true, maybe it isn't. I don't believe in it, so I can't catch it.
You shape your own reality through the conviction of your thoughts, your beliefs, and the words that you use.
Why else would you adopt any kind of mindset unless it's designed specifically to make you competitive and make you win? You install the software in your mind, right? So if I'm going to install software in my mind.
Did you install it?
Well, I've tried very hard to curate it.
Right, because wasn't it installed by your upbringing? Wasn't it installed by your mother and your father in some way?
Good question.
Before you were conscious, while you were just a developing child, like something got programmed into your psyche that has to have an impact on you. And those things can't necessarily be known because you were at such a young age.
Absolutely. We're all programmed to some degree. I agree with you on this so far. I don't think anybody can escape programming, whether it's society, whether it's a television show, whether it's the people around you, peer pressure, whether it's a religion. We're all programmed to some degree. That's absolutely not really true. What I have done, and what I think most people do not do, is heavily analyze why I hold the beliefs I hold, why they help me. If I don't hold the belief personally, or if I didn't learn it from personal experience, I know where it came from, who tried to teach me that, whether their intentions for me were good or bad. And I've tried very hard to have my mindset rigidly analyzed and make sure that it's put together in a way which benefits me completely and absolutely. And I do not believe in things that take away power from me. Right. I refuse to do that. I would rather say that they are not real. And people will sit here and argue to the end of time that they are real, but they're not real in my world, and I live inside of my mind. So even if you throw me in a Romanian dungeon, the idea that I become a depressed person is not a framework that my mind works within, so I can't become depressed. I can feel a little bit sad, sure, I can feel depressed, but I can't be depressed. They're very different things. So that's just the mindset I've installed, and it's allowed me to be competitive. And I believe, personally, my personal beliefs are that life as a man is hyper-competitive, and whatever software you have in your mind should be designed to make you as competitive as possible, and you shouldn't be believing in absolutely anything else. So I've tried very hard to make sure all of my worldviews and all of my experiences and everything is curated and aimed in a direction which is going to allow me to be a fierce competitor in all realms of human endeavor.
Have there been some of your beliefs or convictions that have been challenged through the experiences that you've had, particularly in the last, recently?
Well, people challenge me often. And what a lot of people don't understand is that I will never adopt the thinking of somebody who is sad, and I will never adopt the thinking of somebody who is less competitive than I am or less successful than I am. If someone comes along and goes, Andrew, you are wrong, the way you see the world is wrong, but they are suffering from an affliction, why would I adopt a single iota of what they say? So it's kind of funny when I talk about depression, the number of people who defend depression. Depression's ruined my life, it's super real, and I lost my wife and my life is over and I want to kill myself, it's real. I'm like, surely you should like my worldview. If depression's so terrible and it's destroyed your entire existence, you should be listening to me tell you it's not real. But instead they're defending it and sticking up for it, which I find very interesting. So that's the first thing. In regards to whether I have had any of my convictions challenged, it's kind of amazing. Maybe it's just a semantics trick, and maybe it's that simple. Maybe it's as simple as saying, I feel a little bit depressed today, but I am not a depressed person, and I cannot become depressive. I'm not going to have depression. Maybe it's just a semantics trick, and by saying that alone, I understand that it's a temporary state of mind, which I can alter and I can affect. And I've never struggled with long-term depression or long-term negative thoughts because I don't believe in that mental model. I think that your mind, like I said, it's software, it's programmed in, and they say inside the Matrix or in every single video game, there are boundaries and there are limits. There are certain things you can and can't do. And I don't believe my mind can be put in a state of permanent negativity. I don't believe in that. I don't think it's possible, so it just doesn't happen.
You said you experienced depression, some form of depression or depressive feelings and sadness in prison. What were the thoughts that were coming up? What was happening?
Well, there's a lot of uncertainty, which is the first thing
That has to be scary.
It is scary. It's scary.
And also because you're a man who's totally in control of your world, of your life, and that's almost like an imperative for you. And that gives you power. And all of a sudden you're thrust into a situation where you're essentially helpless.
Well, you just nailed it. You completely nailed it, because I was exactly about to say it's the uncertainty that I struggle with the most, because in my life I'm in charge of everything. I know exactly how everything works, and I'm the boss, and I get to control absolutely everything. And this is the first time in a long time I'm in a scenario where I have no power whatsoever, no influence, basically. I don't know what's going to happen. Nobody else knows what's going to happen. And also in my worldview, in my world, I'm the hero, right? I'm the head of the clan. Not just my family, but of a lot of people. A lot of people rely on me. Lots of women rely on me, children rely on me, etc. So everyone comes to me every time there's a problem. So they continued to do that while I'm in a jail cell, expecting me to have some kind of answer. And I'm like, well, I don't have an answer this time. Every other time I had an answer, but this time is a bit unique.
How did that feel? You don't have the answers. You can't help.
Yeah, I mean, it was frustrating. It's very frustrating, and it's the uncertainty that would bother me. I don't think I felt sad very often. but I certainly felt extremely frustrated. I would sit there and think, there has to be a way out of this room. Not breakout, but like there must just be some words I can say, someone I can talk to. There must be a way. It's only a door. Like I can't just be stuck in this room. And it was hyper frustrating. Yeah, and the uncertainty of it is also scary because in my situation, every 30 days they decide if they hold you longer or not. And I was encountering people who'd been in there for years in my scenario. So.
Well, the uncertainty is a form of torture, really.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's torture.
It is torture. And it's designed to make you break. You don't know how long you're going to be there for. Nobody knows. You hear horror stories. You see other people getting out who've done worse things than you after a week because they've signed a piece of paper or admitted to something or whatever they've done a deal. And you're sitting there and yeah, it's hyper frustrating. And I think you have two choices as a man often when bad things happen. I feel like you can maybe get depressed and sad about it, but the other outlet's usually anger or a form of anger. I felt like anger was more, in many cases, anger is more effective, I guess. It's more useful.
You were angry in there?
I wouldn't say I was angry, but if I started to feel negative, I could turn it into frustration or anger, which I could at least alleviate with 2,000 push-ups. Right. It's better than feeling sorry for myself. Right. I feel like if I had to choose one of the two outlets, deciding to use controlled anger was more beneficial than sitting around feeling sorry for myself. I don't ever believe in moping or feeling sad. So when I was at my worst, perhaps I was a little bit angry. But then again, I also think I do that in my normal life. If I'm honest, I don't admitted to something or whatever they've done a deal. And you're sitting there and yeah, it's hyper frustrating. And I think you have two choices as a man often when bad things happen. I feel like you can maybe get depressed and sad about it, but the other outlet's usually anger or a form of anger. I felt like anger was more, in many cases, anger is more effective, I guess. It's more useful.
You were angry in there?
I wouldn't say I was angry, but if I started to feel negative, I could turn it into frustration or anger, which I could at least alleviate with 2,000 push-ups. Right. It's better than feeling sorry for myself. Right. I feel like if I had to choose one of the two outlets, deciding to use controlled anger was more beneficial than sitting around feeling sorry for myself. I don't ever believe in moping or feeling sad. So when I was at my worst, perhaps I was a little bit angry. But then again, I also think I do that in my normal life. If I'm honest, I don't think anger is a necessarily bad thing. I think that misdirected anger is a bad thing. I think if you get very angry about scenarios and you put it in the correct direction, you get unlimited motivation and you get a lot done. The water behind the dam, it can be destructive, but if it's pushing through the turbine, it powers the town, right? So if I wake up and I go, I want more money, if I can get pissed off enough about it, I can do 36-hour workdays, right? So there's nothing wrong with being angry in my world as long as you are putting it in the correct direction. It's uncontrolled anger, I think, is a problem.
Right, anger can be used as a fuel and it's necessary. And from my framework, anger sometimes is a mask for pain.
I'd agree with that.
So did you experience pain in there? I know pain is a kind of an abstract word, but was it painful for you? Like, I want to know about your pain.
Yeah, it's strange because I'm being as honest as possible. It's strange because I had this instilled sense of duty where even though I'm in a jail cell and I can't leave, and even though I'm cripplingly bored, I don't feel like I had time to feel pain, or I didn't feel like I had time to be a victim.
You had nothing but time.
No, I didn't have time.
What are you talking about?
Because everyone outside still relied on me. So when I would get on the phone, people would...
Is that avoidance, though?
I don't know.
Do you keep busy? Do you avoid your feelings by keeping busy, being on the computer all the time?
All the things I had to do still had to be done. Just because they threw me in a cell, it just made it more difficult, which means I have less time than ever because the difficulty's been increased. And when I would get on the phone, we wouldn't discuss how I'm feeling. I'd be worried about how everyone else is. They'd be like, how are you? Yeah, I'm in jail. What's going on with this? Are you okay? Are your bills paid? Are press hassling you? I was worried about fixing everyone else's problems from jail more than I was concerned about myself or my own mental well-being. And if I felt particularly, when I say pain is an awkward one. I don't know if I felt pain because I don't feel sorry for myself, and I've developed this mindset of such absolute accountability that even though what happened to me I believe was unfair, and even though I'm completely innocent, I didn't think, why? I didn't think, why is this happening? I didn't think, why me? I didn't think, oh, this is unfair. Like, none of these things crossed my mind. I was like, this is garbage. However, you can't become the most Google man in the world without, with every light has a dark, right? Like, let's be realistic about this.
Yeah.
I'm thrown in a jail cell. Do I belong here? No. But am I here? Yes. I was pretty logical about it. And I was like, okay, I've got a lot of things I need to get done. And I would feel angry if I couldn't get them done. But I don't think I felt pain. Now, I'll admit I don't sleep very well since I've left.
Why?
I could admit
Do you
that.
know why? I heard you say in one interview that you have nightmares.
I do have nightmares. Yeah.
What are your nightmares about?
I don't think they're about anything. I just have like almost like an adrenaline rush out of nowhere while I'm sleeping, and I shoot up. I bolt awake.
No thoughts, no memories, no
real
visions?
thoughts, no real story.
Fear. That's fear.
I guess it is, yeah.
So so let's just, you're the dreams are a reflection of the unconscious. And if you're having nightmares, there must be some unresolved fear that wants to get worked out.
I believe so, but then also, I love the idea of that. Of having unresolved fear. That sounds like the most interesting thing in the world to me. If someone were to say to me, Andrew, take this pill and your unresolved fear will vanish, I would say absolutely and utterly not. That's not fun. The fun is there's something in my mind which I don't have complete control or complete understanding of yet, and it's not detrimenting my day-to-day life really. Okay, I lose a bit of sleep, but this sounds like an interesting journey. It sounds like I'm in a new level of the video game and I've been thrust into a dark forest and I get to do something brand new, and I'm really genuinely not worried about it.
You're not yeah, you shouldn't be worried about it. It's just where you are.
I'm not worried about it, and I'm also not like, oh, I need to fix this. I don't care. I'll have nightmares and I'll wake up and I'll either go back to sleep or I'll continue to work, and that's life.
Maybe life will keep giving you situations in which you'll have to confront that fear to resolve it.
Why would I want to resolve it?
Well, because
I mean, if I'm really that tired, I'll sleep.
no, but fear creates distortions in our mind, right? I mean, fear is the seed of evil.
Yeah.
Right? And so we want to know what we're afraid of, because if we block our fear, we're susceptible to bad actions, right? And fooling ourselves about what they are, rationalizing.
Yeah.
So I would argue that it's actually vital for you in the position that you are in and the responsibility that you have to actually confront your fear in a very real way, which probably goes back to your childhood. I mean, your dad was, the haircut story, and I don't know if you want to talk about that, if you're willing, but that's it. When I read that, I'm thinking about that little boy. It must have been fucking terrifying.
It is, but I do think I had the best father on earth.
I'm not disputing that. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good that came from your father. I'm not disputing that your father was a good man. Yeah. When you say he could go from 0 to 100 like that for a little boy,
it's scary.
It's fucking scary.
It is, but
that fear has to be in you. You don't know what the fuck he's going to do.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
But I think that's prepared me for life fantastically. And I also think the fear.
But have you reached a limit? Have you, of the video game? I mean, you're facing all these charges, right? So something, and maybe this is what you need to go through. I mean, you're on the hero's journey, right? And this is inevitable in some way. But also along the hero's journey, you have to die to be reborn.
That's true. And I agree with all of that. But if I'm genuinely, I psychoanalyze myself all the time, which is one of the main reasons I don't believe in therapy and psychoanalysis.
You can't psychoanalyze yourself.
Of course you can. I do it myself.
You don't think that's hubris?
No.
You can know your own mind, that you don't need reflection from others to see yourself, that you can see yourself perfectly?
I think that, no, I don't think I can see myself perfectly, but I think that life is a perfect reflection.
But why not get help? Why not?
Because then it becomes a crutch. I like the idea that I can rely on myself to fix myself.
Well, you have a coach. Is that a crutch?
No, it's not, because he's teaching me something.
What's the difference?
That's fine, but if I had an affliction, I would like to be my own doctor. And I think with your mind, you can do a lot of it yourself. And I think if you have a very strict framework in how you measure how successful you are as a human, and I do it through competence and achievement, I say, which mindset do I need to achieve as much as I can possibly achieve?
Right.
And I can measure that in real time. I can measure that in literally dollars and world championship title belts. I can literally measure the success. Mm-hmm. I'll say, okay, well then this is the mindset I need to have to be as successful as possible. Anything that's deviating me away from that needs to be addressed and concerned and dealt with, and I can do that myself. And I think the fear that if it's fear that's waking me up from nightmares now, it's just because I understand there's a very big apparatus, a very big enemy which I cannot destroy and I cannot beat coming to get me. Mm-hmm. So I do think that wakes me up. I think the fear is healthy. I think I'd be stupid to not be afraid. But I don't necessarily want the fear to go away because I have no problems feeling bad.
Well, it's not about going away. It's coming into deeper relationship with it. And and understanding that there's fear that's happening in real time, but there's also fear that may be in your psyche somewhere, in your body, that's connected to your history, and that may need to be resolved, because otherwise you're projecting things out that you may not be seeing reality totally clearly. That's the thing, right? Like, is there a way that you're not seeing things perfectly clearly?
Well, then we go back to what I just said about perhaps that's true, but if I measure myself purely on competence and purely on achievement, whatever I think and whatever I'm doing is obviously fantastic. So I'm very happy with the mindset I have. And then we go into the argument, which is a level deeper, is am I supposed to be happy? Am I supposed to feel good?
No, it's not happy.
No, of course, but this is what I don't understand about people, especially men in the world today. Why are they so worried about being afraid? Why are they so worried about, I was afraid every time I fought.
Yeah.
I fought anyway.
Yeah.
Like, I don't let fear guide what I'm gonna do. I do what I'm supposed to do regardless of how I feel. So I don't see anything wrong with feeling fearful. I don't see anything wrong with feeling stressed or under pressure or anxious. All these things men are trying to get rid of, and I talk about men specifically. I gender this because I'm a man. I don't know how it feels to be a woman. But all these things that people are trying very hard to get rid of from their brains, I don't see why they need to leave. I will argue the point that if I feel anxious and pressured and stressed and fearful, I will get more done than if I was happy. I think if I was happy, I'd just be hedonistic and just wasting my time. I think that you get a whole bunch done with these negative connotations and negative emotions, and I think that life is suffering and pain, and you're here to go through it, and the sooner you get used to the taste, the more successful you're going to be. I have no interest in trying to change the flavor, my friend. The flavor of life is pain, and I will eat all of it. And it doesn't matter if they put me back in jail or not. I'm not sitting there going, how can I be happy in jail? I will sit in jail and say, yes, this sucks. It's supposed to suck. Yes, I'm not enjoying this. Yes, I'm anxious and paranoid. And yes, that guy might stab me. And yes, I can't sleep. And I miss my family. And this is what's supposed to happen to me. And this is how I become the best man I can possibly be. And I'm going to succeed regardless.
You're very convincing. You're so good though, right? It's almost like I feel like you can rationalize anything, right? It's almost like a trick.
Magic trick?
Well, you're really good at talking, you're really smart, and it's almost like any question you can turn and make it work for you, which is great. It's a skill, but there's also a place where there's the potential for self-delusion.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not even going to sit here and say that I'm not delusional to a degree. I'm not saying that self-delusion doesn't exist. We all are, right? Let me give you a very simple example. Let me try and use an analogy. I think the only thing better than having everything you want is not wanting anything, right? So I have every car on this planet. I have 40 supercars. Most people want a supercar. I have 40. But there's that unique 0.1% of people who genuinely don't want one. And I think that's more freeing than having everything you want, right? So the true mindset is not wanting anything. Most people, the best they can do is having everything they want. And I feel like you can kind of do this with the emotions as well. I guess my general consensus is that I don't think I can change or affect the world to the point where pain and suffering and bad things are not going to happen. So isn't it best if I just enjoy all of that? Doesn't that make me as powerful as possible if I say, oh yeah, okay, this is going to suck, good. I mean, I do it when I fight. Yesterday I was fighting, right? We were doing 12 rounds and all of us were destroyed. And the more he hurt me, the more I wanted to hurt him back. The more he hurt me, the better it felt. The more powerful I felt, the more he hit me. Because then it's my turn, right? So if I can't stop him from punching me, and I'll do my best, but if I can't, then surely you should learn to enjoy it, right? And I don't think you can stop life from hitting you. And I don't think you can stop life from giving you unexpected surprises. And I don't think you can stop yourself from feeling sometimes sad or anxious or upset. So I think the best mindset you could adopt is finding that engaging and exciting. I'm not going to lie to you. Although I am facing very serious charges, and although they are trying to destroy my life, and although I cannot sleep the same, and although they're out to get me, and although I've suffered, part of me is excited. Part of me is like, okay.
Why?
Because it's a war.
You like war?
I think all men do.
I do.
Yeah, of course, all men do. So it's a battle.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. So I'm not saying I'm glad it happened, because I'm certainly not. And I'm not saying I'm going to win. But I'm saying that I've trained myself to the point where if I were walking down the street and 10 men were to pull knives on me, I'd be intimidated, but 20% of me would go, this is going to be one to remember.
Do you have a belief that you could take 10 men with knives?
I have a belief that, yeah, I do.
Because that's delusional.
That's delusional. Yeah, but it gives me a best chance of possibly winning.
Well, no, running away would give you the best chance of
course.
possibly
I'm not-
winning,
now, I'm
and
not-
then coming back and being safe, and then serving out your mission.
Of course, I would run away in that scenario. But if I had to
you have a
engage them,
belief, there's
if I had to engage them,
Right.
if I had to fight them, I believe I'd be the most capable if I believed I could win.
Of course.
So for that reason, if I have to self-delude, then I will self-delude, and I will convince myself that I am here to destroy all 10 of them, and I will say it in a way where at least 7 of them believe me. And that's the most important part sometimes about all of this self-delusion, is that a lot of other people start to believe what you say. And I'm not saying that I say bad things. If a man were to sit in front of you and say, I can rip your head off with my little finger, and he said it in the right terms, and he truly believed it in his heart, you wouldn't want him to try. As ridiculous as that sounds, you'd be like, he's kind of big, maybe. You know, it crosses your mind. So I think that, yeah, I have psychoanalyzed myself, even though I'm not officially, you know, certified. And I've decided that I can't stop bad things from happening to me. So instead, I'm going to enjoy bad things happening to me. And I'm going to build a mindset that makes me fearsome enough to succeed regardless of how stacked the odds are against me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I appreciate your mindset, and it's well thought out, and it's useful to you. And so I'm just pushing up against the places where I think there might be contradictions.
I like to hear it.
Yeah.
I like to hear it, but like I said right now, I'm not a coward. And I want to make this very clear. I'm not a coward. I don't care if I don't sleep again for the rest of my life. I refuse to take any fucking pill, and I refuse to sit and have my mind altered by anything I do not control. I don't care if I have nightmares for the rest of human time.
Right.
As long as I'm in charge of my mind, I'm in charge of my life. If God decides that I don't need nightmares anymore, I'll fathom out how to stop it. If God decides I need to wake up in the middle of the night in a sweat, fearful or afraid they're coming to get me, then that's God's plan for me, and that's what I'm going to deal with. I'm not a coward. I'm not afraid of any of these things. I'm not afraid of feeling bad. I'm not afraid of anxiety. I'm not afraid of panic. This is one of the things I think a lot of men out there struggle with, is they're so worried and afraid of bad feelings. And to me, that's just showing that you've had an easy life. Like, there's real people out here who are trying to kill you. There's people out here who put a knife in your neck. You're scared of what? Feeling sad? Who cares? Like, there's real problems. What are you worried about feeling sad for? Who gives a shit? I could feel sad for the rest of my life, and I guarantee, 1, nobody would know, and 2, I would be monumentally successful regardless. So why are we even talking about it? I have no fear for a negative feeling. I have fear for me not being able to provide for my children. I have fear for people who rely on me not being provided for and cared for, but I don't have a single, I don't wake up and go, I'm worried if I might feel sad today. Who cares? Who cares? I can be happy or sad on the same day. Nobody notices, and the same things get done. The exact same amount of work gets done. Nothing changes.
How are you making sense of what's happening to you? Is it God's will? Is it a co-creation? In some way, did you co-create this?
Oh, no.
Or are you just like a victim of the Matrix?
No, I'm not a victim. So absolutely everything is, I believe.
In some way, you're a victim.
Completely, but I believe in self-accountability.
Sure.
I could have prevented this.
Well, how did you co-create this? If let's presuppose you did.
I created this by being monumentally successful.
Right.
There's no light without dark. Equal and opposite force.
But you said you were excited about it, so maybe there's some way you actually wanted this.
I didn't want this. In fact, I had conversations with Tristan for a long time, and I kept saying Icarus to him. When I would decline certain podcasts, I would decline meeting certain famous people, I would decline talking about politics, I would decline things, and I would keep saying Icarus. And he would say, why are you doing this? And I just reply, Icarus. Because I knew if I got too big that they were going to come for me. I knew that. So I tried to balance it, and I felt like I did a pretty good job, but unfortunately I got it a little bit wrong. My fault. I got it wrong. I put myself here. But I also don't believe that there's any light without dark. It's yin and yang for a reason. I don't think that I can just become the most Googled man on the planet and become monumentally successful and make hundreds of millions of dollars and nothing bad's going to come from it. I think that would be hubris. You just used the word hubris. It's a fantastic word. I think it would be stupid for me to sit there and go, I should be able to do all of this good and have a fantastic life and there's going to be no repercussion in any form. I knew this was coming to the point where I literally sat with Tristan about 3 weeks before it happened and said, we're fucked.
So why did it happen?
It happened because I became monumentally successful and I became monumentally influential, and the world is a battlefield.
You did create it. In some way, you co-created it. Completely. Like you knew this was going to happen, and so there may be some way, unconsciously, you wanted it to happen. Like if you're on this hero's journey and you're living this big life and you have a big vision for yourself. I mean, you know, you bring up guys like Genghis Khan, and I think that's kind of appropriate because in another era you probably would have been one of those cats, right? So now we're here, and maybe you need this in some way, need this test to really feel yourself, to know how strong you actually are. I mean,
I know what you're saying. I don't think I need the test. I do feel like I need to tell the truth. I do feel like
What's the truth?
the truth is, well,
the truth about the Matrix?
yeah,
lies?
what I believe, and I do believe that I have a responsibility because of my massive platform.
Yeah.
And I do believe that the responsibility is for me to do my best to educate people in a way that's going to make them happy. And I know I could have sold my soul 1,000 times, and I know I could have avoided this, and I know I could have not said certain things, and I understand all of that. I wasn't looking for a war this large. I wouldn't say I was looking for it, but I wasn't ignorant to the fact that it might happen, and I wasn't afraid.
You didn't do anything to avoid it, though.
I did a lot to avoid
you
it. Icarus. I must have said it 1,000 times.
right.
I could have made it much worse.
Yeah.
But I was never afraid of it happening. I think there's a difference between knowing something bad might happen and taking the calculated risk and going, this is my journey for truth and this is what I believe is what I should do, and being afraid of something. Like, I understand if I go into the ring, I might lose. But I do believe 93% chance I'm going to destroy him.
Well, and you want the fight, either way.
I guess so, because how else do you matter, right?
That's my point.
And I'm not saying that I'm glad I'm being persecuted for false human trafficking inside of Romania. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that...
Yet, on the other side of this, how strong will you be? Stronger than you could be otherwise, that's for sure, and have more power and influence otherwise.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a Nelson Mandela.
Completely. And
Now,
so
I wouldn't want to spend fucking whatever amount of time in jail. That sounds fucking scary, but it's not uncommon for heroes.
Well, exactly. And if you take the lessons from it, and if we want to once again talk about being as formidable as possible, then I don't think jail, okay, it's given me nightmares, but I don't think it's made me weaker.
No.
And it could have easily made me weaker. I could have gone through the exact same experience with a different mental model and emerged weaker. I believe I've emerged stronger, regardless of the fact that I have nightmares. I didn't have nightmares before, now I do, but I still see myself as a stronger person. That's one more thing I no longer have to fear from an unknown perspective. I know exactly what it's like. I know the best ways to deal with it, which I developed within the 3 months. And if they put me back, I know what I'm going into. So that's a unknown area of the map explored.
Yes.
And I don't want to go, but I do believe that I'm more powerful than ever. And you have to find the good in it. That's absolutely not for sure. But I don't think I want to be very careful. I don't think I was looking for this fight. I'm finding the good in this fight. I believe that my fight actually has far-reaching repercussions for society now. I think that however this plays out is going to affect society in real time. I wasn't looking for it, but I was never...
Did you attract it in some way?
Well, if you are a force for good, then the evil is going to attack you, isn't it? And I do genuinely believe this is the battle of good versus evil in the world today. I believe that truth is always going to be on the side of good. I am religious. I believe the things I say most people knew were true only 10 to 15 years ago. I don't think they're radical ideas. And I think that there is an evil force in the world which is extremely deceptive. And they are out to try and silence me. Not because what I say is wrong. It's in fact because what I say is right. I believe the reason I have so much influence and the reason so many young boys listen to me and pay attention to me is because I say things that are true, that they know intrinsically, evolutionarily, inside of their bones as true. That I say things which work. People often wonder why my fan base is so feverish, why my fan base is so dedicated. Well, if they listen to me, it's the first time they ever feel good. The first time they ever train hard and start to feel better physically, and they start to feel better mentally, and they adopt my mental model, and now they're not stressed or depressed anymore. And then they may start to make some money, and they go, you know what, I started listening to Tate a year ago. I'm in the best shape financially, the best shape physically, the best shape mentally. Tate's the man. So they're hyper dedicated to me. And yeah, I mean, there's going to be a negative to that. I want to make something clear. I've been brutally aware of the fact that all of this might blow up in my face for a very long time. I've not been ignorant to that. And I think that's why jail didn't cause me pain. Because I wasn't in jail like, how did this happen? I was in jail thinking, they got me. I knew it. They've been after me for a long time. I knew they were coming. And I don't know if that's a coping mechanism, but I was saying on every single podcast before I went to jail, they're going to try and put me in jail. I knew it.
Right. You said that there's a light and a dark. Is there darkness in you? I mean, there must be.
There's darkness inside of everybody.
Right. And do you know that part of you? Are you in relationship with it? Do you think about it?
That's a good question. First, I have to identify what would the darkness in me be.
Well, let me present something to you, because I stood up for you after you got canceled off social media, and I have a lot of female clients, and they had questions about that. I mean, they know me and they trust me, so they're curious. Yeah. But one of them said, "Well, you know, Andrew he's out there saying that he's helping all these young men, but in the beginning, he made his millions in some level exploiting these very men." Okay. That's the frame that they were thinking about it. And is there validity in that, in what they're saying? Because I didn't know how to answer that question.
I don't think I exploited the men. I think I exploited, maybe I did exploit the men, but let me change my answer. I don't think me not exploiting them would have prevented them being exploited. I think these men were out to be exploited regardless, whether I did it or not. So,
but you can see how that sounds cynical to somebody, where you say, well, they're going to be exploited anyway, so I'm going to make money off them. And then once I make money off them and I get this platform, then I'm going to champion them.
Completely. I mean, I guess that's probably one of the most logical arguments against me I've heard. Then we have to argue whether I was really exploiting them, which is another argument, right? Absolutely. Because a lot of these men, the only reason they didn't kill themselves is because they had an online girlfriend. Sure. So I actually think that webcamming and girls as a whole is closer to therapy than it is porn. Truly, these men are completely miserable, and the only joy they have is logging into that website. So I don't think I did exploit them. The reason I said the fact they're going to be exploited anyway, it's very similar to having an alcohol store. Let's say there's 3 alcohol stores in a row and all of your customers are alcoholics. Well, if you close your alcohol store, what happens? They just buy at the next store next door. Right. They're still going to be an alcoholic. You're not saving anyone's life. Right. But I don't think I necessarily exploited. I didn't see myself as exploiting them or exploiting the girls. I don't think that. I think it was a business opportunity, and I approached it the way I approach everything, which is extremely professionally, and I got good at it, and we had a very successful company. Everybody was happy, including the men at home and including the women who all became millionaires. I've turned more women into millionaires than I've turned men into millionaires. So,
but maybe that's the reason they're coming after you, because they feel in that a contradiction, and they're not buying your story. Right? They don't believe it. They're like, oh, this is an act. He's not genuine. He's actually out for himself. Right? Well, and so that's the place that they want to get you, because there's definitely an energy out there. They want to get you.
Oh, no, they're out to get me.
Yeah.
And
it's
I don't think that's the reason why, though.
Well, depends who we're talking about. Yeah. But we're talking about the Matrix. I understand why and you've talked about that a lot in podcasts. We could talk about that, you know, because you are speaking a lot of truth, and you're confronting all the lies in the culture, and you're speaking against the most powerful forces in the world. But individual women, let's say, they're going to look at what you're doing, a lot of them, and a lot of them, you know, they're completely insane, and they're looking at these little clips, and they're distorted in their own feminism, and maybe unconsciously they can't reconcile to the fact that they would actually want a man like you. I think that's a lot of what's going on. It's like projection.
I'd agree with that.
You know? Nevertheless, there is an energy that's like they want to get you. They want you to be punished in some way. Yeah. And so, like, how do you, like, what do you do with that? How do you deal with that? Like, how do you answer to that? Like, if that woman was sitting here, what do you say to her?
Yeah, I would say that her argument, to a degree, is a logic fail. Let's take it away from webcamming.
It's a female logic.
Yeah. Don't be a misogynist.
There's your blind spot right there.
Don't be a misogynist, but that's like saying because
it's not misogyny. You know?
No, of course, but that's like saying because you've ever eaten a steak, you don't care about animals. Right. Effectively, right. What she's saying is because he had a business in which some man may have felt exploited at some point, he doesn't care about humanity, which is a logic fail.
Yeah,
so,
I understand.
So that's not valid. What I have found in my experience often is that many women who seem to dislike me after they meet me don't dislike me anymore. Mm-hmm. I think the energy which they find repulsive over a screen or affects them emotionally over a screen, they end up liking in person. I think hate and love are actually very close to each other. And I've had women who scream how much they hate me at the screen, and then they meet me and they're literally in love with me.
Well, you're a nice guy.
Of course. So I've yet to meet a female in person who dislikes me. And I would love to talk to these women. I think that'd be the best conversation ever. I think it'd be the best podcast on earth.
Yeah.
But they are out to get me. They're certainly out to get me. I think that the fact that I'm so assured in a lot of my convictions, they find very threatening. people in general now seem to find it threatening when you're the kind of person who says, no, it's this way. And they say, oh, but the news said it's that way. Don't care. It's this way. And they find that ignorant, but it's not ignorant. I think it's just assured in your convictions, and they find that threatening, very threatening. I think that there's a lot of people who find me threatening, not because of necessarily what I say, but just how sure I am in my convictions and the way I present myself and in my monumental success. They find that overall threatening. The same way a rabbit will find a tiger threatening. It doesn't know why, it's just like, it just wants to run away from it.
So is it incumbent on you then change the way you're delivering the information so more people can hear it?
No. No. Because there are some people who cannot be saved, and it's not my intention to save everybody. I have no intention of trying to convince everybody to like me. My intention is to try to speak to the people out there who know what I'm saying is the truth and who like the way it's being presented and said. I, once again, have no concern with being disliked by X percentage of the population. And I want to make this clear. I've spoken to a lot of people who have talked about how their mental health has been affected by, online bullying and media campaigns and smear campaigns. I don't think anybody's been attacked by the media in the last 2 years harder than me. Every day, there is something in the media trying to paint me as a bad person. On TV channels from Ulaanbaatar to Utah, across the entire world. And I can sit here and say categorically, I've never read a media report and been like, shit. I've just been like, clowns. Don't care.
That's a lot of energy coming at you. I mean, psychic energy coming at you. And like, have you reconciled to this idea that you're Andrew Tate. You were born, you have a life, you have your own inner world, just doing your thing. And then there's an Andrew Tate that's out there. And people are projecting their love and hate onto you, and it's not, none of it's really real, but you have to hold all of that mass projection.
Correct.
How is that?
Yeah, but then let's psychoanalyze me, right? You're the professional, I'm the amateur, but let's do it. Why don't I care that the media continues to attempt to slander me continuously, and they don't do it to anybody else, and it's unfair that they're doing it to me, because if I was a genuine sexual predator like the people they defend, I'd be protected by these people. We can discuss this, right? Sure. If I was going into girls' toilets, they wouldn't say anything bad about what I was doing. So why are they, the fact that it's so unfair and it's so pervasive and it's so aggressive, why doesn't it bother me? Am I ignorant?
It doesn't bother you?
I don't think it does.
Do you block it out? I mean, you must read these things and you see your name associated with these horrendous crimes.
But it's not real.
I understand.
It's false.
But you're able to feel every fucking bullet perfectly?
If what they were saying was true, it would bother me.
Yeah.
But genuinely, because I know it's all garbage, it's all lies, it's water off a duck's back. And maybe my obsession with truth is obsession, I don't know if that's the right word. But because I believe I'm talking the truth, and because I believe the current war we're in is genuinely one of truth against deception and lies, that's their only weapon.
Sure.
That's their weapon, is deception and lies. So everything they say is a lie. So it doesn't really affect me. And I will sit and say that.
But I know for me it's painful when I'm not seen. Like my goodness isn't seen, right? Like it's painful, or people misrepresent the things that I say. Or judge me because of my association with you. Like it's painful. I'm not seen.
Correct.
Right? And that can make me angry and maybe cause, I don't know, some kind of negative reaction within me. And I guess I'm just curious, like, isn't it painful in some way? Like people, because there's a lot of people out there, they don't see you. They don't see your goodness. They only see the dark part of you, or they project their own darkness onto you, or their father's darkness, or Trump, whoever the fuck it is. They project that onto you. In some way, isn't that like?
But those people are already paying the price. Because
those people, but for you, I'm saying for you, your inner.
It doesn't bother me because those people are already paying the price for their ignorance. Their minds are not free. Anybody who sits and watches the news and believes what the news says about me is the same kind of person who believes everything the news says.
Right.
And if you have two choices in this world, people are talking about the battle I'm in, and yes, I may be spearheading it, I may be at the front of it, but I believe that this war cannot be avoided. You are either at war against the injustice and against the lies, or you're at war with your own mind when you believe they're garbage. It is impossible for a man to believe the crap they want you to believe and be a happy, functioning adult. It's impossible. If you believe the shit that's on the television as a man, you're going to be miserable. So you're either at war with your brain or you're at war with them. Anyone who's going to sit there and go, I believe Andrew Tate is a human trafficker, I have 25 vaccines, I believe in Ukraine. These people are already paying the price because they're already miserable, and I can guarantee everyone who dislikes me is an unhappy person because their minds are enslaved. So I don't feel like I don't feel, when someone sits across from me, which has never happened in person, but let's say someone on the internet makes a video about me, right? And these happen. A new Andrew Tate's the worst man ever. I can load up the video and just look at him for a fraction of a second and go, he's paid the price.
Right.
He's already miserable. If I was that person, then depression would be real. These are fat internet trolls, losers, who can't compare to me in any human metric. They know it, which is why they dislike me. Because anybody who genuinely gets out in the world and looks for truth and looks to be successful and is tenacious and is brave agrees with everything I say. So I don't feel pain when someone sits and says garbage about me, because I believe that their mind is already suffering because they're not free. Their mind's not freed. Anybody who can listen to what I say long enough and not be emotional about it and actually understand it, well, those people aren't paying a price. So maybe that's a coping mechanism, but every single time I see a woman who hates me or a man who hates me, and I compare them to the people who like me, there's a massive contrast in overall physical attractiveness, success, financial success. Like, it's amazing. So it's like, okay, well, my haters are way down here, and the people who agree with me are way up here, so let them hate.
Maybe they just resent you.
Of course, not maybe. I think a lot of the reason this is happening to me is, and maybe this is arrogant, but...
Are you arrogant?
I'm with the therapist, so I'm allowed to be arrogant, right? A lot of the reason this is happening to me is because I'm tall and built, muscles and cool cars and, smart. People don't like me. There's people who look at me and go, he thinks he's too cool. Teach him a lesson. There's a massive amount of resentment involved in all of this.
Yeah.
Even from the Matrix itself, we talk about the Matrix and I talk about it and people, of course we compare it to the movie. But at the end of the day, there are people, moving parts in all of this. There's a prosecutor, there's a judge, there's a lawyer, whatever. Someone is sitting in an office who gets a piece of paper saying, destroy Andrew Tate. And that person looks at my life and compares it to theirs, and they feel resentful. And then they go, okay, let me use every power I have to try and destroy this man.
Right.
If my life wasn't so aspirational is a word you can use, but if it also didn't tick nearly every single box in regards to every teenage boy's dream, I think that they would be a lot less interested in trying to hurt me.
Right.
They're trying to hurt me because of the things I have and what I can do. So there's a massive level of resentment in all of it. And I also think the people who dislike me, a lot of it's resentful. It's either weaponized virtue or resentment.
Right.
Especially weaponized virtue. Let's talk about that. Because whenever I have a hater online, it's funny, people who hate me in person are very respectful to me. It's very strange. Isn't it weird how the bottom line of humanity is always going to be physicality? When they meet me, they shut up.
Sure.
But
Keyboard warriors are very tough.
Of course. But online, it's very hard to say I'm stupid. It's very hard to say I'm not successful. It's very hard to say I'm fat. It's very hard to say I'm ugly. It's very hard to say I'm not charming or I'm not charismatic. It's very difficult to attack me with anything other than the fact I'm a bad person. He's all these things. He's perfect in nearly every metric, but he's a bad person.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you do that? Well, you take a virtue and you weaponize it. Misogyny, homophobic, whatever it is. They pretend they care about the subject when they don't. And they put it into a bullet and they shoot it at you. And it's weaponized virtue. It's not genuine virtue. These people who are saying I'm a misogynist don't care about women or care about combating misogyny. They just want to try and hurt me with it.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Or the second thing is genuine resentment. Yeah, I remind them of the guy who picked on them in school.
Yeah.
Or the guy who fucked their girl, took their girl off them. And they don't like me for it. But that's not my problem. That's their issue.
Are you defensive? Is that like a defensive posture? Is the way that you can be?
I really want when I.
Are you open to these people?
No. And when I talk to you, I want.
They want you to be open to them.
This is what I think it is. It's like you are the man. It's like you are the daddy. It's just like, why are you being so mean to me? Why are you fucking yelling at me? I want you. I need you, brother. Like, show up in a good fucking way. Where are you? Like, that's what's going on for them emotionally.
Perhaps.
Yeah. And so do you have a responsibility in that place to transcend the place you are in to really fully realize your leadership? You know what I'm saying?
That's a very good question. And when I'm talking to you, I want to be as honest and vulnerable as I've ever been. I'm trying to be as vulnerable as I can be.
You're doing great.
But also, so let's talk about these people who resent me the most, or these people who disagree with my message.
What's it like for you to be vulnerable? What's that word even mean to you? How do you relate to that word of vulnerability?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I don't know how I relate to the word vulnerability.
Well, you are vulnerable.
You can't put yourself out in the world like this to be seen. That is a vulnerable act. Getting into the ring with another fighter where he might kick your ass, that's vulnerable. That's intense vulnerability.
I think emotional vulnerability, nearly at every form, at every level, is basically a form of manipulation.
Maybe that's just how you experienced it growing up.
Perhaps.
Was your mother emotionally manipulative?
No, but if a girl cried in front of me, I believe she'd be trying to get an out. I don't think it's just because she feels bad. I think it's because she's trying to get a reaction from me. And I think when men cry to their wives or whatever, a lot of it is trying to inspire sympathy from her. I think a lot of emotional vulnerability to a degree
I would argue that
is all manipulation.
Like then that would indicate that in some way that you are manipulating.
We all manipulate each other.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So if you're seeing manipulation in others, that must also exist in you. And I guess that's the question. Is there a way, right? Like, can you actually not be manipulating? And manipulating is a strong word. It has a negative connotation. But like in some sense, trying to control. Because one of the things that I find in this conversation, right, it's like, I actually think you're going along with my line of questioning really well. You're not trying to control everything. But there is a way, right, that you have a tactic. You're trying to control things. You're trying to get away from something. You're trying to control the conversation on some level.
Of course.
But what if you gave that up?
Well, okay.
Give it up.
I'm trying. I'm trying to be as vulnerable as possible. But when
But just the idea of it, right? Like, what would happen if?
let's do it. I'm trying my very best. Old habits die hard.
But don't worry about the result. Just ask yourself the question, like, what would happen if you let go of trying to control everything? Just feel into what that would feel like.
But that goes back to the point about what vulnerability is, because I don't think humans are as emotionally incontinent as they pretend to be. And I believe that when you truly feel pain or truly feel trauma or something really bad happens to you, the result to that is usually silence. I don't think you talk very much at all. So people, you ask me, what is it like to be vulnerable? Well, to me, that's not crying. That's not... I think when anyone's doing that, 99% of the time, it's a manipulation tactic, I believe, personally. Maybe that's just my personal experience. But yeah, maybe. But I think especially with men, I think it's a manipulation tactic when they try and show too much emotion, and women do it as well. And I don't react very well to it. If someone were to sit in front of me and start bawling their eyes out, it's very hard to elicit sympathy from me for that reason. I feel like you get sympathy from me by sitting and explaining to me why something bad happened to you in a logical, calm, stoic manner. If someone starts crying in front of me, I feel like they're trying to manipulate me, and I don't buy it.
Or maybe you judge it in them because you judge that in yourself.
Perhaps. I mean, it's my human experience, right? And it's my bias. But I'm trying to think of the very few scenarios in which I would ever cry. And I'm thinking, would it genuinely be because I feel so much pain, or if I think it could benefit me or help me? Well, would I be trying to manipulate somebody? Now, that's not something I'd ever do because it's not my personality and mental frame. But
crying is just a physiological reaction to express pain and grief that allows us to release this and to come back to homeostasis.
It's manipulation.
It's just, well, it can be.
It's don't attack me
but
anymore.
It's also a physiological response.
Oh, completely. But it's don't attack me anymore. It's I'm the victim, don't attack me anymore.
Be.
Yes, I cheated on you. It's a shield. And so when we talk about what does vulnerable mean, I feel like I'm being vulnerable now when I'm explaining things extremely logically.
You are.
That's as vulnerable as I can be. I cannot be the kind of person who's going to cry. But once again, this is my mental model. I haven't instilled.
But is that what it means? Vulnerability, cry?
I guess vulnerability.
What about admitting your weaknesses?
I'll admit my weaknesses
What
right
are
now.
your weaknesses?
Then this is so interesting because I will tell you. No, it is because I'll tell you I'll admit my weaknesses, and I will. But now I have to try and identify some because in my mental framework I don't have weaknesses.
Right.
So now it's like, okay, I am prepared to admit where I'm weak. Where am I weak? Well, I've tried so hard for so long to make sure I'm not weak anywhere, and if I am, I've compensated so heavily in some other way, I don't fail. So it's like, where am I weak? I'm that guy who does not fail. It doesn't matter what scenario anybody's life is in. It doesn't matter if you get dumped into jail. It doesn't matter if you're going into war. It doesn't matter if you're bankrupt. Whatever it is, if someone says Tate's on your side, you feel good. Oh, Tate's here. Ah, Tate, okay.
Yeah.
He can't even swim, but he's here to he's the lifeguard. Tate doesn't fail. I can swim, but it's an example, right? So I do not fail ever. So it's very hard for me to identify weaknesses because I feel like they've all been ruthlessly. I think I've rooted out any weakness, or I've compensated so heavily so long ago. I don't see myself as a weak person. I don't see myself as a person who can fail. People said to me in jail, how did you handle that? What else can I do? Not handle it? What does that look like? We're gonna bang my head on the wall like a dummy? Am I gonna have a breakdown and just be a pile of mush? All you can do is handle it. So you were talking about vulnerability. I'm being as vulnerable as I can, but I can't even honestly sit here and tell you a weakness I have, because in my mind I have no weaknesses. And perhaps that's delusion. Perhaps that's perhaps it's delusion.
Yeah, but
a useful delusion is what you're saying.
It's brutally useful.
Yeah.
And when I teach this, or when I talk about this, there's a lot of men who perhaps want to adopt it, but the mistake they make is they don't have the real world experience to back it up. I don't want people to be completely lose their minds.
Yeah.
We're not talking about that, but we're talking about the fact that I can name so many scenarios in my life where I was supposed to fail, and I did not fail. It's brutally realistic, it's brutally logical, it's built on competence, it's built on real world accolade and achievement. Mm-hmm. Everything I've ever wanted, I have achieved, and I have gotten. I have never failed at anything I've ever wanted, ever. So how am I going to wake up and say, oh, I've got this weakness, that weakness, when I have a 100% success rate? 100%. There's never a girl I wanted I didn't get. There's never a car I wanted I didn't drive. There's never a scenario where I said, I want to get through this, I didn't get through it. I've never failed. So of course I'm going to sit and say, yeah, I would love to tell you my weaknesses. I can't think of any. I don't know.
Right, but are you being humbled right now? Is this whole series of events humbling you?
It's taught me things I already knew. I know you can't be bigger than a justice system. I was saying Icarus for a reason. I knew they would come for me. I know I'm only human.
But you're not do you?
I do. I'm just a very good one. I'm just a very good one.
Is there somewhere inside you a belief that you're invincible? Like you can't get got? Because that is a dangerous fucking distortion.
No. I wouldn't have been saying Icarus for that reason.
Right.
I'm actually far more cautious than most people would believe. Mm-hmm. I err on the side of caution.
You're tactical.
I'm very tactical. With all of my life, even the security I organize, the places I stay, where I go, I'm extremely tactical. I don't believe I'm Superman. I just believe that I do not fail. And because you have no weaknesses, doesn't mean you can't lose, right? You can be strong in all realms and still lose. Mm-hmm. There are world champion boxers who have no weakness. They do everything right and they lose fights, right? So I'm not saying I'm invincible. I'm just saying if you ask me to name my weakness, I can't think of one.
What should we ask the guys?
Sure. You can ask people. You can ask people around me. I would love to hear it. And I guess I can tell you what people say about me.
Well, actually that's a good question. Do you feel like you get? I mean, I guess Tristan. But do you get honest reflection? Can you trust the reflection? Because you're at the center of this kind of empire, and you have all of these friends. But can you trust the information that's coming to you from anyone? Because I'm here in some way from my own self-interest, right? Yeah. And the fact that you trust me was interesting to me. You let me in your house, so I assume that you have some kind of instinct about it. Yeah. But that must be hard, like to trust.
I get a lot of feedback, and it all goes into a big pile, and I listen to every word that's said to me. I'm not the person who's beyond reproach. Everyone I work with, a lot of people have said things to me, and I'm told about myself quite often. Yeah. And I put it all in a pile, and I analyze every single word carefully. I ignore most of it, but I do listen to it. Mm-hmm. And I guess the number one bad or negative thing that people will say about me who know me is they may say I'm very insensitive.
Alright guys, looks like we're done basically. Just taking the thumbnail of this video. Turned out pretty good. I like it. I put a farmer there, so efficiency. So yeah.